Hilary Duff's mother, Susan, has been controlling her career ever since the beginning. Susan wanted to make sure her daughter became the biggest star she could be, and she made it difficult for any of Hilary's competition to have any success. Some people also blame Susan for the ending of the Lizzie McGuire franchise because she had a huge public falling out with Disney, and Hilary suffered the consequences of her mom. So let's get into it. Before we had Kris Jenner, we had Susan Duff, Hilary Duff's mother. We're doing a deep dive on how intense Susan was back in the day. She was determined to make one of her daughters, Haley or Hilary, a star, and she wasn't going to stop until that happened. Susan has a reputation for being a tough and sometimes difficult stage mom. She moved both Hilary and her sister from Texas to California when Hilary was 6 years old. Before moving to Hollywood, they had a family convenience store located in Texas, and that's where Hilary's dad stayed while her mom, Susan, took the daughters off to California and really pushed them into the industry and pretty much got Hilary working in commercials right away. So if Hilary was 6 years old at this time, Haley would have been 8. And at this point, they don't know what they want to do with their lives, but Susan had already decided this for them. Hilary's first major role came in 1998 when she was cast as Wendy in Casper Meets Wendy. Here's a clip of her being interviewed about this role.
I'm a good witch. I'm mischievous, but in a nice way, you know?
Hilary was so little there, she had no idea what she was in store for, because then Lizzie McGuire came around and she got other opportunities like Cadet Kelly. She was in Cheaper by the Dozen, A Cinderella Story. She was in Cody Banks.
I'm totally surprised of the success that the TV show has. It's so amazing because, I've been auditioning for about 4 years, just trying to get parts here and there, and then I got Lizzie McGuire, and it was so cool because we worked on it for like 2 years, and we did 65 episodes. You would walk around and people would see you at the mall and be like, hey, I like your show. That's really cool to know that you are a part of something that people like.
Speaking of Cody Banks, Hilary's co-star Frankie Muniz says that he hasn't spoken to Hilary in 22 years after her intense mom overstepped during their casting. We know Frankie from different projects like Big Fat Liar and Malcolm in the Middle, but he was on the Joe Volpis podcast on September 2nd when he decided to call out Susan. He said, I was on the set of Lizzie McGuire and I was in Hilary's dressing room and her mom was there. He said that Susan was an agent and producer at the time and the epitome of a stage mom. What happened was that Susan pretty much cornered Frankie and started to ask him about different projects and essentially inserted Hilary into this project that he necessarily didn't want her to be a part of. I mean, at this point, they were already being coupled up because of their prior work, so this new project together just made them seem even more like a duo. And I'm sorry to Frankie, but he just fell flat compared to Hilary.
Her mom was super intense. I've actually never told this story. And I was on the set of Lizzie McGuire, and I was in Hilary's dressing room, and her mom was there. I'm gonna say the epitome of a stage mom. She was intense. Hilary was so cool. We had an awesome relationship, but her mom was super intense. So her mom was like, do you know what you're doing this summer? What are you doing this summer? And I go, I'm filming this movie where I'm playing a junior James Bond. It's called Agent Cody Banks. And she's like, is there a girl that could be Hilary, that would be good for Hilary? I knew in my contract I had to say of who the girl was going to be. The next day, and her mom was like, guess what? We're going to be spending the summer together. She's like, could we film that in Vancouver as well? She's like, we're going to be up in Vancouver together. I'm like, oh, what's Hilary filming? She's going to be filming a movie up there too? That's awesome. She's like, no, she's doing Cody Banks with you. And I looked at her and I went, no, she's not. And she's like, they signed.
So he thought that this was his project, and he just realized in real time that the conversation he had with her the day prior resulted in Hilary just snagging up that position.
And the contract last night. And I'm like, the movie you knew nothing about yesterday, you signed. How is that possible? I wasn't mad. It was just shocking. Calls were made, and they knew that Hilary and I were really close, and I was filming her show, so they just assumed
it was fine.
It was fine. I wasn't thrilled about it.
There's a reason why Hollywood stars always seem to walk away from scandals untouched. Just like there's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury firm. Most regular people, including me, don't have a legal army behind them. And if you're injured in an accident, insurance companies try their best to pay you as little as possible. That is where Morgan & Morgan comes in. With over 1,000 attorneys and 100 offices across the country, they are built to fight for regular people, not corporations. In Florida, a client was offered $350,000 by an insurance company. Morgan & Morgan stepped in and got them $12 million. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome, but these stories are what they do every day. And it's easier than ever. You don't have to deal with those piles of paperwork. You also don't have to pay anything up front. You can even start your claim right now within minutes by using your phone. You can get started by scanning the QR code on the screen using your phone's camera. Remember, the fee is free unless they win. If you ever find yourself injured, then check out Morgan & Morgan. Again, you can start your claim today by scanning the QR code or visiting the link in my description below. It's fast, it's simple, and it could change everything. Frankie went on to share that he spoke to Hilary on that last day of filming for Agent Cody Banks and hasn't spoken to her since. And now that Hilary is making a comeback with music, I guess Frankie did not care about burning that bridge. This person wrote on Reddit that my mom dealt with Susan once as part of her job, and I believe Frankie. My mom also said Hilary's mom was intense. Somebody else said, but can we give her a round of applause for keeping Hilary safe from becoming a cliche child star gone bad? It's actually interesting that Hilary's new album is titled Luck, and I think that she's titling it Luck because of her career, saying that it's luck that she did not end up one of those child stars. Hilary might call it luck, some people call it Susan, but I want to talk about how Susan had a role in the destruction of Lizzie McGuire because she kept asking for more and more money. That is something that's very Kris Jenner about Susan Duff, is that she expected a lot, which is good because you want your children to know their worth. But Susan Duff played a major role in the collapse of Hilary's relationship with Disney and the end of the Lizzie McGuire franchise. In the early 2000s, negotiations were underway for both a Lizzie McGuire sequel movie and a new TV series. Susan pushed aggressively for a substantial raise, arguing that Hilary, who earned about $15,000 per episode on the series, deserved about $100,000 per episode. Disney countered at about $35,000, but that was not enough for Susan. This comment reads that Hilary got robbed on the $15,000 per episode, so I don't blame mom, which I kind of understand as well. But again, I don't know what was typical for like people to get paid back then. I mean, $100,000 per episode, if there's like 20 episodes, that's a crazy paycheck.
That's not the only role Hilary Duff got screwed out of because of her mom. She also got screwed out of Lizzie McGuire because of her mom. Here's a fact people need to recognize, and that's that child actors don't really make that much money from doing these shows, where Hilary Duff was only paid $15,000 an episode for Lizzie McGuire, which means she made $975,000, but then after taxes and managers, they take about half of it, and then the rest goes just to the cost of living in LA for 3 years.
But it wasn't just the series that fell through, it was also the follow-up movie. Hilary earned $1 million for the first movie, but Disney offered her $4 million for the second. There was also a $500,000 bonus tied to the box office performance, but Susan demanded that the bonus be guaranteed regardless of how the film performed, which Disney refused. But what Susan did next really pissed off Disney, because then she went to publicly shame them. She accused the studio of underpaying and attempting to control Hilary's career, calling their negotiation tactics bullying and unfair. Disney, on the other hand, did not budge. They said that Hilary's demands were unrealistic and the deal had reached its breaking point. Susan said that Disney thought they'd be able to bully us into accepting whatever offer they wanted to make, but they couldn't. She said, we walked away from a sequel, they walked away from a franchise. Disney responded by saying that they wanted to continue the Lizzie franchise, but every deal has a tipping point, the point at which it no longer makes sense. Unfortunately, that's the point we reached in these negotiations, and we had to say goodbye. Maybe, I know Lizzie McGuire was like this shit back in the day, but maybe it wasn't making enough money for Disney to pay them that much. I don't know. Or they clearly didn't like each other. I don't think that this production chief, Nina, really liked Susan Duff. Many people didn't. But in the grand scheme of things, people blame Susan, not Disney, for Lizzie McGuire 2 never coming out. Somebody else pointed out on Reddit, didn't Susan have something to do with Lalaine Miranda on Lizzie McGuire not getting a record deal or something, apparently out of jealousy? Your memory is serving you correct, because there was a fallout between Hilary and her co-star over her getting a deal. Everyone loved Lizzie and Miranda's friendship within the show and in the movie, but behind the scenes, Susan wanted to make sure that she never surpassed Hilary's fame. Insiders say that tensions surfaced as early as season 1 when Elaine got to show off her vocal skills.
I will never pass for a perfect bride or a perfect daughter.
This episode was supposed to showcase Lelaine and her voice, leading people to believe that she was going to be doing more than just be a sidekick on a TV show. Rumor has it this really upset Hilary. Hilary wanted to be a singer, so she was surprised she wasn't given this storyline. So the long-standing rumor is that Hilary's mother got Lelaine fired from the show.
Hilary and her mom were very upset because their long-term plan was for Hilary to become a singer. They also wanted Hilary to be the main singer within the show, so they didn't want her side character over here to show her up, and she got the first song, which Susan noted. On top of Elaine trying to do more with her life, Hilary also didn't like the fact that she was super close with all the castmates. Because she was around more, she had more of a bond with them. Hilary was so busy, constantly on the go, so she was also jealous of Elaine just being there with everyone and everyone liking her more. Quote, there were a lot of emotional politics that were just unfortunate. It was a mess.
So while Hilary was filming her scenes, Lelaine was hanging out with the cast and crew, becoming a favorite. They described her as friendly, down to earth, and clicked with everyone on set. And according to crew gossip and long-standing rumors, that created a lot of jealousy on set.
During the show's final stretch, Hilary and Elaine had what Spencer, the author of this book, described as a falling out beyond repair, and that the actors' friendship fractured all the way up to the parents. The rift between Hilary and Elaine caused the production of this show's second season to a halt. The president of Disney Entertainment at the time said, "We could never and would never force someone to do a show they did not want to do, and it was time for her to go." A writer from Lizzie McGuire said that you could tell there was something going on between them. Even when they were having these ad reads, you could tell there was tension, and quickly everyone realized that these two could not work together. Unpopular opinion. I don't know about Elaine, I never watched LM, but I do remember Hilary Duff's music on the radio, and she's a terrible singer. That might have been why they pushed the other girl to sing first instead of her. Somebody else said, so Miranda really wasn't visiting family in Mexico when Lizzie and Gordo went to Rome? This person clarified, no. They ended her contract 6 episodes before season 2 ended, and they didn't ask her back to be in the movie. Now, Elaine tried to leave the Disney world and pursue music, but unfortunately, not many people were paying attention. And when you're out here on your own without the support of Disney, it's hard to go and create your own career, especially back then in the 2000s. You can't just make a TikTok back then and go viral. Hilary has spoken about the complicated relationship she has with her mother being her manager and her parent. She described her mother as having a lot of control over every aspect of her career, and it can be overwhelming, especially as a child under constant scrutiny. There was one funny article I found with the headline, Hilary Duff got in trouble with her mom over a photo of a condom in her purse. Quote, I'm caught. Hilary was on the Therapist podcast, and she said that I grew up in a time of scandal and everybody wanted to catch me doing something bad. I was crossing the street with my friend Marco. I was in front of Kitson, and she said it's when jelly bags were really cool. She had this see-through jelly bag. The paparazzi took a picture of her, and she had a condom in it. And because it was a jelly bag, you could see right through it. Hilary said all of a sudden she got a phone call from her mom, and she was like, is there a condom in your bag? And blah, blah, blah. I remember feeling like, damn, I'm in trouble. I got caught. I did something bad, which I'm sure Susan was constantly putting pressure on Hilary to be this perfect star and not to mess up. Also, looking at these photos, I don't know what they're seeing. This bag, even though it is see-through, it's still very difficult to see. So I don't know what they're referring to, what kind of condom that would be. Somebody else said that I believe it was photoshopped. Shame on them. And somebody else said, I remember the fake picture. So maybe the paparazzi edited the condom into the bag. I mean, back then, it was so ruthless when it came to paparazzis. I'm sure they edited all the time and we did not know. Hilary did joke about it years later by sharing, I found a condi in there. We didn't use that, ... Probably referring to her husband and her children. But yeah, it's something that she can make fun of, I guess, years later. But that's all I have for you guys about Susan Duff. We talked about Hilary's relationship with that guy from, is it Good Charlotte? But the older gentleman. And she was a part of that as well. But if you want to go and see that video, that is a different conversation. I wanted to tell you guys about Susan's reputation, for better or for worse. But what do you guys think of this video in the comments below? And I'll see you in a new one soon. Bye, guys.